This is episode 17 of the SOC Level 2 pathway of TryHackMe, and we are continuing on with our detection engineering module. And in today's video, we're actually going to be using a very interesting tool called SigHunt, which basically helps you fine-tune your Sigma rule writing skills. And so far, I've just done the very first challenge, and it's actually been very helpful. And it's one of those things that I feel like you can kind of fine tune and modify a few different versions of your Sigma rule and still get the same type of response. And so I'm just really excited to go through the rest of these with you today, and hopefully you will get a lot of value out of it. My name is Hank Hackerson, and I'm your host for this video today. And to find more videos like this, or to find anything else on pen testing, ethical hacking, we have the Pentest Plus, SOC Level 1, so on and so forth. I would encourage you to like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so that you get notified the next time that a video comes out. And then, of course, there's the Hackaholics Anonymous community, which is intended to be the premier YouTube community for security professionals and hackers. And this is something that I'm committed to personally. I've already put out a lot of great content, exclusive content, Python automation scripts, live chats with our Discord community, live content that's going to be coming up, and just literally a lot more perks that are attached to our membership tiers. And if you're interested in really getting into cybersecurity or ethical hacking, there are bug bounties. That's probably something that I should be mentioning all the time. The bug bounties is where you actually hack and get paid for hacking. So Apple's bug bounty, for instance. And that's going to be a part of the community as well, where we work on these together and we go collaboratively into a bug bounty, and when you solve it, you get paid for it. So that's one of the many perks that are attached to Hackaholics Anonymous. So I would definitely encourage you to check out the Hackaholics Anonymous community, and this video is right on our channel homepage. You can get all the descriptions for everything that goes on, all the stuff that you would get in return for each membership tier, and would love to see you in that portion of our community as well. Now, without further ado, let's jump into the content of our video today. Okay, so SigHunt, basically we're creating detection rules based on new threat intelligence, and the introduction goes like this. So number one, you need to go through these prerequisites, and if you haven't already watched the Sigma video that we just talked about, Sigma syntax and all that, it's absolutely necessary, because I'm not going to be going into a lot of those basics. And you just need to know it. You need to know Sigma, you need to know YAML, and just an understanding detection engineering as well, so you can get the full grasp of everything that goes into what we're going to do in this room today, because this is a challenge room, and we're just going to be applying this stuff that we've learned to get answers and to find flags and things like that. So very much I would recommend to actually go through the Sigma video. It should be the video that came out right before this video, so the very most recent video prior to this one, as well as the detection engineering, which is a part of this overall module. It's the very first video in detection engineering, so I would highly recommend you go check those out. And so the whole idea is that we're going to be using the SigHunt interface that looks very much like this, actually identical to this. And you're going to write your Sigma rule on the left hand side. You'll submit the run, and then once you do, if it's correct, it'll release the flag for that specific challenge at the top of the window, and then we'll be able to use that flag to answer the challenge questions for the rest of the room. And that's basically it. That's the entire purpose, and that's the whole breakdown and the outline of this entire video today. So that's it for the introduction. Super easy, super simple. And this is our scenario. So the HuntMe Incident, where detection engineer during the first week of ransomware incident has concluded, and incident responders have successfully mitigated the threat with their collective effort. The IR team provided the IOCs, the indicators of compromise, based on their investigation, and our job is to create Sigma rules to improve the detection capabilities and prevent future incidents from happening. So these are the 9. This should be 9, or is it 8? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's 8 bullets here, but there's 9 challenges that we're going to be answering. And these are the pieces of it. So there's an execution of a malicious HTA payload from a phishing link. Then there was the cert utility tool to download the netcat binary, netcat execution to establish a reverse shell, enumeration of privilege escalation vectors through powerup.ps1, abused service modification privilege to achieve system privileges, collected sensitive data by archiving a 7-zip, and then exfiltrated sensitive data through curl and executed ransomware with HuntMe as the file extension. And so these specific pieces, and I'm not going to read these in advance, we're just going to go through one by one as we create our rules. But these are the specific indicators of compromise for each one of the attack techniques. So we're going to actually have to put this inside of our rule. And then at the very bottom here, we have the mandatory required fields. So when you write Sigma rules, there are certain fields that are required that you have to put, otherwise it won't work and the syntax won't work. And I'll show you what that means. And so for each one of these, it just tells us what our mandatory fields are. And if you want this to work, you actually have to do that correctly. And that's the piece right there that I missed for the very first one when I was writing it. So we're just going to make sure not to miss those. Okay, so let's jump into the first one. I actually got the flag for the first one, and I had to test a few different versions of this. Let me make sure that this is actually full screen. So I mean, I didn't, as you can tell right here, a lot of these are still commented because they're not absolutely necessary for this rule to work. The biggest part of any of these rules to work is these pieces right here. Everything from log source to the detection that ends with condition. These are the biggest pieces that are absolutely required for this to work. So all of this stuff, you could literally just put whatever over here. For me, the log source, all of this stuff, you could put literally any information over here, and I just kind of put some basic information. The log source, when you come in here, there is no category that exists, so you actually have to add the category, which is the process creation category, which is the event ID that's also attached to this. So a sysmon event ID, system monitor event ID of 1 is process creation. You can also have under the product, I forget what the other thing was, but there's something else that was sysmon, and I just deleted that. But the category is process creation. The product itself is Windows. And then the detection and selection, this is the meat of it. This is like the biggest piece of this whole thing. So under detection, this is just a general syntax of writing these rules. So I'm not going to go into why we have it structured this way. This is why I recommend you watch the Sigma video first. So our selection under our detection are several things. So number 1, event ID was mandatory. Parent image was mandatory. And image, of course, was mandatory. Now, these pieces right here. So if I deleted this, actually, so before I do that, I'm going to run it just so you can see what it says right here, right? So if we run this, it gives us an error at the top right here where it says it's too specific. The string update.hta specifically, it's too specific. So focus only on generic IOCs. So, and then it also gives us this little X mark right here, which we can just kind of delete real quick just to give us that piece. So it does work if I run it like this, and it usually takes a couple of seconds. So there you go. This is our flag for this actually working, and this is the overall thing. Now, I also tested it without this command line element right here, and it still worked, I think, from what I remember. Yeah, it still also works even without that, because technically they gave us right here, right? They said that the mandatory things that you need to have, the required fields, are the event ID, parent image, and the image. And if you actually have structured it right, if you've written it correctly, then all of those things should be enough for you to get your flag. And that's basically all it was, right? So it was the detection. Under selection, we had the event ID, which is 1. Parent image ends with chrome.exe, because it could be anything else that precedes this. And then the image itself ends with the ms, whatever, mashta, ms, whatever this is, .exe. And then our condition is selection. And that's it. And that was the whole thing. And then we ran it, and I got the flag. I don't really know what I'm supposed to do over here, because it already created the flag and it added the rule and all these things for me. So I didn't have to do any of this. It just automatically fixed it for me right here. So that was it for the first flag. For the second flag, this is what we're trying to find right here, which is the cert util download. So this has the event ID, the image. There's no parent image in this one, but their command line is now one of those mandatory required fields as well. So if we go back up here, This is our image, so that one's going to be good. Event ID is a process creation event ID still, so we're just going to leave those as is, but then we have to add the command line specifically, and then we have a few different pieces here. So it's this, there's that, and then there's the actual URL here. The URL could be a variety of different things. So I feel like this would be, if we just had these inside of the command line, it should be fine. So I'm going to just create it as such, and the rest of it I'm going to leave the same. I'm not going to mess with any of these at the top right here. I'll just do this. I'll just do. All right, so there's our basic descriptions. Category is going to be process creation still. Product is going to be Windows still. So since we have this as our process, we're going to leave the event ID as 1 because it's process creation. Parent image no longer needs to be here, so I'm just going to delete the parent image. Image ends with, so what was it? It's certutil, right? Image ends with certutil, I think. Certutil.exe. Yeah, so let's go fix this real quick. And then we need to have the command line piece in here as well. So we're going to have command line, and then contains, and I think it needs to be all of them. So it needs to have all of these elements in here because they were all inside of the command. So if you look at this, and these 4 pieces were all inside of the actual command. And in order for this thing to run properly, or for it to find this piece for us, then it needs to all be inside of the command that's being run. Because if it's just URL cache, or if it's just F inside of the thing, it's going to give you a lot of false positives, and it's going to bring up a bunch of things, because a lot of different tools inside of Windows probably have an option of F. So if it just shows up for F, basically, and this is what I mean when I say you need to go watch the Sigma video. If you don't include this, it'll look for anything that triggers any of these items, and we want all of them to be present. So that's the piece right here that we know. We just need to make sure that all of those things are present. So I'm gonna just type that out real quick. Let me just make sure I got it on my screen. I'm so traumatized from a previous recording that like every 5 minutes I'm like, let me make sure this is still recording the screen. Okay, cool. So let's see all the things that we need to put here. Okay, there we go. So that's all we got. So we got the event ID, image, and command line. They're all inserted here. Process creation still, all these things here. Cross fingers. Okay, so let's see. String parent image required field missing. So I still do need to have a parent image in this. Refer to the provider rule creation standards. Let's see why this is still missing. I think it's because it's still running it as the suspicious Mishta cert execution. So maybe if I delete this, because maybe the ID is the issue here, because that was the previous ID. So we're going to go to our UUID. We're going to create another UUID. Copy that, come here, and let's paste that in here. Let me run it. It's still missing that. So let me see. I don't know why it's saying it's missing, or it's requiring the parent image, because it's still running it as suspicious mashta. So let me see. Okay, so I just refreshed the page. Maybe this will actually kind of help us. I am pasting this piece right here, which is essentially the same exact thing that we had before. So let's see if this still works. It still says it's missing the parent image. Refer to the provider rule creation standards. Oh, I see. Okay, that's what I gotta do. Okay, I see. Okay, so before you move on to the next one, or before you run the next one, you gotta click the create rule thing, so it just sets the blank thing for you again, and then it actually changes this at the top. And then once you click the create rule, the required fields will also change. That's why we were still on the last one, and it still said the MHT whatever at the top. So this is now correct. So I mean, it's literally the same rule that we had previously, and we just got our field, and that was the piece that I was missing. I didn't click on the create rule button. So let's go and first paste this in here real quick. Cool, there you go. So that is the correct answer. This one was phishing MHT, not just for certs. And now let's zoom out for this one. We're going to move on to the next piece. So challenge number 3, which is for the netcat reverse shell. And there's the command line, there's the MD5 hash. That is a new field that we need to have. And I don't know if that's mandatory. Let's see. Hashes are mandatory. So we need the event ID, image, command line, and hashes. So that's a new one that's been added to our list of required fields. Okay, so the hint for challenge 3 says try utilizing the hashes to find the capture to field what? Try utilizing the hashes field to capture all netcat executions without relying on its file name. So a way to do this without relying on the file name. Right, so going back over here just to make sure that we got all of the pieces that we need. So netcat, so the image is going to be pretty much very similar. Let me see if I can just modify it here real quick. So the image is going to end with netcat, so nc.exe. That one's going to stay the same. Actually, so I'm going to create rule. I'm going to click that. There we go. And so now we can, I messed that whole thing up. So goodness, now I got to do the whole spiel one more time. So we're just going to do everything from, let me see, I think the mandatory pieces are, I'm just going to delete the author, date, and modified. I'm going to delete those. I'm going to delete the ID. Well, titles probably has to be there. So netcat reverse shell. The status is going to be test. Description is going to be cool. Product is going to be Windows. That's what it was before. Service was sysmon, but instead this time we're going to do the category, which is going to be still process creation. And now the juice of the whole thing. So we need the selection pieces to be right. So since we're dealing with 2 sets of selections, we'll do selection 1. And what I mean by 2 sets of selections is that when you're doing a search by MD5 hash, you can basically just do the search by the hash by itself, and it should bring up everything. So that'll be our second selection. Our first selection is going to have the various pieces in here that normally would. So there would be the event ID, which is 1, and then we would have the image that ends with nc.exe as per usual, and then the command line contains, and we will do, there are a few things in here that seem like it would be like indicative of the person running netcat. So obviously it would be contains this, so it could be anything netcat.exe in it, but I mean we already put that as our image, so that's fine. So there's this piece that could be it, but they could change their domain name. 444 could be a port that they would use for netcat, but that could also change. And there's a few things. There's only really one thing in here that would be okay, this has to be present in order for this to work, and it's either the cmd.exe or the -e right there. So I'm gonna just try this. I'm gonna do contains all, and I'm going to change it to the field is going to be -e, and then I'll also try it with cmd.exe. Let's see if that's all good. And then so that's our first selection, and then we have selection 2, which is going to be just the hash value. I need to go back one indentation right here. Hash, I think it's hash or hashes actually. Hashes contains, and then we put the hash value in here, which is this piece right here, and paste that over there. And then condition is going to be the few of these, so it could be selection 1 or selection 2, and everything else could be pretty much BS, which we're just going to delete just to make it Okay, so here's the rule. Here's the full rule, just to give you the full screen view here. So all these things, whatever, doesn't matter. Log source is Windows. Categories, process creation. The detection has two selections inside of it, and just pay attention to the indentation. Selection 1 is the event ID. Image ends with netcat.exe, and then we have these two. Not sure if this is going to work or if it's going to give me some kind of error or not capture the flag, so we'll have to try these, but I feel like the hashes should be fine. So we're doing selection 1 or selection 2, so it should be fine. I think it'll work, and let's see if it does. So we're going to run it, and it says specify the filter, rule 2 generic, specify the filter, required filter E. So okay, this is on this line, I believe. Interesting. Okay. The problem was because, okay, I mean, let me show you before I got the answer so you see what's going on. When I had it like this and I ran it, I got this wrong detection, hit count 10 out of 7. No idea what that means. That's not like a good error response. So all I did was I just deleted the hyphens before these selectors, and then I ran it, and then I got the flag. So there you go. That was it. So the rule, I think you just saw. I mean, you can just go back and pause the screen so you can see what it just was. And there we go. We got it. I'm not sure exactly what triggered the rule, but that was it was correct. It actually got us the answer. So it was one of these for sure. It was either this one or this one. It was definitely one of those two, I can say. But apart from that, that's it. That's really all it was. And so far, it's been simple. I know it's going to get more complicated the further we go along. It's getting like gradually, step by step, a little bit more complicated. But so far, it's been relatively simple. So moving on to challenge number 4. Okay, cool. So challenge number 4's flag is this one, power up enumeration. And so for this one, we have the event ID, image, and command line are all mandatory, which is very similar to the last one that we had over here. And the information, the indicators of compromise that we get are the image over here is the PowerShell exe, and then we get a few things for our actual command line. So it could be a variety of things. I think out of all of these, probably the ones that really stand out most are this piece right here. Net web client seems to be, I would say, I mean, honestly, like I would test a variety of different things to see what the responses are, but there are certain phrases or words that kind of stand out as phrases or words that would be generic enough and not too generic. So it's like if you go too specific, it'll give you an error that is too specific. If you go too generic, it'll give you an error that is too generic. So I feel like, PowerShell might be too generic because there's just too many things that could be PowerShell. So this seems interesting. Invoke all checks would be interesting. The net web client would be interesting. New object is too generic. And IEX would be interesting as well. I believe that's Internet Explorer. That might be the short acronym for Internet Explorer. But at the very least, for sure, we know that our image is going to be PowerShell exe, and we have a variety of things that we can test with our command line. And we only really have one selection here, so it should be fairly simple. So I'm just going to modify this current one that we have over here. And it's been kind of acting a little bit slow, so I have to try to do this outside in a different text editor, and then from there we'll come back and try to paste it in here. So let me go ahead and type it up, and then I'll show you what the full thing looks like. All right, so I'm just going to use the interface from uncoder.io because it actually helps you with autofilling certain things, and it's much faster than trying to type inside of this actual interface right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to update a few things. For example, our image, I'll update the title and all that stuff, even though I really don't think it's actually necessary. And while we're waiting, I'm just going to click on this so it creates our new template here and just sets us to the PowerShell portion. So this is what we're going to do. So power up is going to be the name of that. It'll stay test for that. Windows is going to be the same. Process creation is going to be the same. Let me zoom in a little bit. And so we only have one selection, so I'm just going to get rid of this entire selection right here. And event ID is going to stay the same. Image is going to end with PowerShell.exe, and then we have our command line that needs to contain a variety of different things. So the first thing that we're going to try to put in here is going to be our IEX was the word, and then that's the part that I kind of don't like, is that it tries to do this thing for me. There we go, IEX. And then the next one is going to be the net web client. And then it was invoke all checks. And that was it. And then we're going to just delete the second part of this. So it's just going to be selection 1. And that's it. This is our entire Sigma rule. So I'm going to copy this, and hopefully by this time this is already reset, and it has. And we're going to do a select all and then paste that in there, and hopefully that'll work. So let's see if it'll work. Run. Okay, excellent. It did work, and there's our flag. So I'm going to copy this, and we're going to take that into our little answer right here. That is so slow. Even the copy paste is super slow. There you go. We're going to paste that over there. Excellent. All right, so challenge number 5. Okay, the hint for challenge number 5 says, you may consider utilizing the modifiers contains and all to indicate that the rule will match all the values. So contains and all to match all the values. So we are on challenge number 5, which is this one, the service binary modification. So we need event ID, image, and command line. So same thing as the other one. We can just leave those. And then here's where it is. So service binary, our IOC is the SCEXE, and then we have the command line. And inside of this, we have the SCEXE. That seems to be interesting. We also have config. We have the SNMP trap. That's all interesting. The bin path, the binary path, is interesting. The path itself could very much change. So all of this that's inside of this quotations could change. So it can't. This is too specific, I would say. The port will change. The domain could change. Most of these things could actually change. So this is probably our most useful portion of the command line. And the event number is going to stay the same. The image is going to end with this piece right here. And command line is going to stay the same. So most of this stuff is going to actually stay the same. So I'm going to go, actually, let me click on this. So while I'm working on the thing, it'll just reload that. It's like, it's so slow. It's crazy. Okay, so we just changed the title to something basic. Same thing with the status has stayed test the entire time. This is our new description, our log source and category and all that, all the same. The only thing that has changed in this case is the image ends with sc.exe, and command line contains all of these things. So sc.exe, config, and I want you to note the spaces between and after this particular portion. The spaces actually do make a difference. There was one few challenges ago where I had the information in there, but there were no spaces, and it didn't register it. And I put a space before and after it, and it registered it, and it actually gave me the right answer. So keep that piece in mind. Now we have our new piece for service binary. This thing finally loaded, and so here we go. We're going to click run, and let's see if it'll give us an error message or if it'll be all good. Okay, so exactly, look, it said the rules too generic, specify the filter, which is configuration. And so if I go down here, watch, I'm just going to put a space, and I didn't do that on purpose. I just think that that's probably what the problem is going to be. and then we're going to run it again, and it's going to give us the result. Yeah, there you go. So there's just something about it, because in this particular case, there's a space before it, there's a space after it. I think it would have worked even if I put like actual asterisks instead of spaces before and after it. I think that would serve the same purpose. But in this particular case, because we didn't put an asterisk, it's taking those spaces literally. And there's something about it, because config, when you do command line contains all, it has to have all of the elements in here. And if you don't put a space before and after it, it's going to actually look for something, for example, configuration, or something along those lines. And if you have the space before and after, it includes the space before and after, and it'll actually give you the result that you're looking for, or serve the purpose that you want it to serve. So there is our flag for number 5. And now let's move on to challenge number 6. The challenge number 6 flag is the run once persistence, which again includes event ID, image, and command line. And just for the next few, it's going to be all the same thing. And the last one, it changes it, and it gives you a target file name as the required piece. So run once, we have same image, right? So not the same image, but we're basically going to put this as ends with on the image. And then the command line argument is going to have several things that are of note. So registry add, in this case, they're both very, very interesting, and they would be something that would be of note for us to take care of. The path to the registry can change, so that part is going to be different. We have... What else do we have in here that might be interesting? I think the run once command that's at the end of the registry, that's also a very interesting thing, because it's technically something, I want to say, that falls under the executables, and it just runs once. So it doesn't run regularly, it does run once. However, I can't recall exactly what it is, but I do remember that this was something that we were using in pen testing. And there was something that we had to do in the command line every time that we executed it. So it's just one of those things that I feel like it's of note. It's something that we should consider including in our portions. So there's going to be the register, the reg, that's going to be in there for sure. Add is going to be in there for sure, and we're going to do the space before and after the add as well. And then we'll just include run once in there as well. Just to see if any of that stuff is of note. So I'm going to create the new rule to reset this page, and then we're going to go in our binary editing inside of uncoder and make our modifications real quick. So let's see. Okay, all right, here we go. We got to put a space, got to put add and another space. And then over here, we're going to include run once as well. And that's it. That's the entirety of the rule. So let's go over here and paste this in here. And on the first try, hopefully on the first try, fingers crossed, let's see if it'll work. Awesome, there we go. We got it. And there's our flag. Now I just got to be able to copy this thing, and I scrolled up, and now it's going to take forever for this thing to scroll up. Okay, there we go. And then we're just going to highlight this piece, boom, and we're going to copy this piece, boom, and that should be good. Okay, on to challenge number 7. And we already know that it's going to require the same thing. So it has the event ID, image, command line. All those things are going to be the same thing. Challenge number 7 is the 7-zip collection piece. So the image is the 7z.exe, and that's going to be included. And the command line is 7z a exfil zip p. There's an asterisk in here. So these are a lot of the flags that we have over here. So 7z would be one. Space a space would be one. And in this case, I think the asterisk would not make sense. Especially, I mentioned earlier that thinking that the asterisk would probably make sense instead of the spaces, but we want a literal space. If I do an asterisk, then it'll literally anything that has a letter A inside of it will come up, because the asterisk is a wildcard character, and that I don't think will actually work. So we want the space so that it considers a literal space for us. So it's going to be 7Z, it's going to be the A, and then we'll even include this flag at the end, which is the dash P, and then maybe even do the space, because there is a space. Yeah, there is a space right there too. So that's our image, 7Z A dash P. That's what we're going to modify. So let me zoom out of this and let me click on create rule for us. Okay, so here we go. This is our new rule. We modified the same things at the very top, so very basic stuff. What I really like about this actually is that when you use Uncoder and then you change the title into whatever, and you go over here, as long as I type in 7Z, it gives me that autofill, and I can just kind of do that, and it just fills it in for me, so it makes it a little bit easier. And what else do we got? Okay, so we changed our image to 7z.exe. We added 7Z in the command line. We added space A space and then space dash P, and that's it. That's our entirety of our rule. It's been fairly repetitive over the last few counts. So it's kind of like embedding the process into my system, which I actually really enjoy because I have to repeat it over and over and over again. And I'm kind of getting the hang of the overall process. And okay, cool. That one worked too. So we're just going to take our flag, copy that bad boy, and here we go. Boom. All right. Almost done. So what is the challenge number 8 flag? All right. So this one is also still event ID image and command line. Our IOCs are images curl.exe, and then we have curl. We have space dash D space. And then all of these things are changeable. So those things could differ every single time. So that's basically all we got is curl and then the D flag right here, the D option. So let's modify this real quick. And there you go. That's it. Short, sweet, and simple. So let's see. Oh, I forgot to click this button. Oh my god, now I gotta wait like 20 minutes for this to scroll down and for me to click the button. Okay, here we go. Copy paste or control alt paste, voila. And then I gotta press the run button. And boom, we got our flag for curl. So we're just gonna copy this bad girl. It sounds naughtier when you call it a bad girl instead of a bad boy. Okay, so we're going to copy that, and then we're going to go down here, paste it, boom, awesome. And moving on to the very last one, the challenge number 9 flag. Okay, for challenge number 9, we only have the event ID that's mandatory and the target file name that are mandatory. And what's interesting, and this is just in case you were wondering, the way that the syntax here is done is what you actually need to put inside of your rule. So target, no space, file name with a capital F, that's what you put inside of it. Command line, same thing. These are the actual fields that are required to write the rule. And these are the detection fields that operate inside of Windows. So for the most part, this is exactly what it looks like inside of a Windows log. The way that the fields are generated, this is exactly how they're generated. So just in case you were wondering, that's where the syntax comes from. And so finally, we have the ransomware file encryption, which is the ransom.exe executable. And then the file name is the *.huntme. And that's it. That's all we got. So we're just going to go write that rule, and we're gonna be done with this thing. So here we go. So we actually don't have an image, do we? Oh, we do have an image, but it's not mandatory. So it says the mandatory are event ID and target file name. So the ransomware file encryption, I mean, I'm just going to do it anyway. So I'm going to do ransom.exe because that'll be in there. Ransom.exe is there. Target file name is going to be whatever, HuntMe. So let's see. is going to be asterisk dot HuntMe, and that's our target file name. And then I just gotta find the event ID for this. So let's see. Alright, so these are all of our sysmon event IDs. So let's go try to find the list here. Oh, file create. It stands out immediately. So file create is probably the one that we need is event ID number 11. Registry event is number 12. 10 is process access, raw access read, create remote read, image loaded, driver loaded, process terminated, sysmon service state changed, network connection, process changed a file creation time, and process. Yeah, it's for sure it's file. It's this one for sure. 99%, that's the one. So file create. 11 is the event ID is the 11. So we're just gonna add an extra one. And ransom, HuntMe. That's it. I'm gonna copy this and paste it in here, and let's see if this is it. Okay, so we actually got a Sigma rule is too specific for the string ransom. So focus on generic IOCs. So I'm gonna just delete this piece, and since that's too specific for them, and let's see if it'll just work if we only do these two, the event ID and then the target file name. Let's see if those will work. Yeah, buddy, there we go. That was kind of like a thing that they were trying to trick us. They gave us that extra piece of information just to mess with our head a little bit, and I fell for it. So now we know that we just don't need that image name right here. We actually don't need that because it was not one of our required fields. So maybe that's why. Okay, so there we go, and we got our last flag, and we're gonna click submit, and we're officially done. Let's go. I am so excited about this. Very, very cool. So that was actually very useful. I like SigHunt. SigHunt is a cool website, and it allows you to test your chops when it comes down to creating Sigma rules, and hopefully you got a chance to actually do this yourself. If not, you can always just test it. If not, you can always just test it inside of uncoder.io because it will give you an error. So if you do something incorrectly here, for example, if I do this and I leave it, usually it does give you some kind of an error. Well, now it's not doing it. Let me see if I can create an error real quick. There we go. Okay, cool. So if I forget to leave a colon, for example, it'll give me an error, and it'll say cannot read block or mapping entry, multi-line key may not be an implicit key, da 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 da. And so if there's anything wrong with your code in here and you actually get some kind of an error, then you can go ahead to something like Gemini and then ask it, hey, what's wrong with my rule? And Gemini will tell you what's wrong with your rule, and then you can fix it, so on and so forth. So if you don't have access to TryHackMe, which I think you should get, because this is a subscriber only room, and the link in the description below will actually give you a discount. So I always leave that discount link in our description for TryHackMe, because I mean, it's not expensive. It's only $12, but if you get an extra $5 off, then you get an extra $5 off, and you get access to it for $7. So it's a very, very useful place. This is like a very useful resource, is TryHackMe, and I highly recommend that you get your membership to it if you don't already have it. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the Sigma room. Hopefully the SigHunt room. Hopefully you learned some good stuff from it. And yeah, if you got any value from this channel or from this video or any kind of value at all from me, I would encourage you to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so that you get notified the next time that a video comes out. And I definitely want to hear from you in our comment section. Our comment section is live. We get a lot of people coming in and they talk to each other and then they ask me questions. And if it's a good enough question, I will go ahead and drop a freaking video just to answer your question. So definitely make sure that you drop a comment. I'm very, very interested, especially in these like long strings, these long threads. It's just so freaking fun to be able to see everybody talking to each other and the community being as active as it is. So definitely drop a comment, say hi. If you have any questions, I'll definitely answer your questions. And if it's a good enough question, I'll actually create a video for you specific to your question. So will not leave you hanging. And if nothing else, like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so that you get notified the next time that a video comes out. And of course, there's always the Hackaholics Anonymous community, which is our membership community on YouTube. And it's something that I'm very, very passionate about. We have bug bounties that we share with our members, and we actually go in on the bug bounties together, because when you combine forces, you can actually get something done better and faster, and you get paid real money to solve bug bounties. The Apple bug bounty, there's several of them that rank in the multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars, and there's one that actually, I think there's 2 of them that give out $1 million reward. So I mean, if 10 people go in on $1 million, that's $100,000 each. If 100 people go in, that's $10,000 each. So it's not a small chunk of money. And it's one of those things that if you combine forces, you'll actually do better. So we have bug bounties, and that's just one of them. We have Python automations for system administration, cybersecurity analysis, pen testing. There is exclusive content. There is exclusive lives for our members. There's Discord chats for the members. There are so many downloads, and there are so many perks that I give away as a part of the Hackaholics Anonymous community. So if you have not already checked it out, I would highly encourage you to check it out, because I believe you're going to get a tremendous amount of value from it. And honestly, you will definitely get the most bang for your buck, in my humble opinion. I've heard a lot of people say that it's actually really, really great value, especially for the money that we're charging, because there are other channels that are literally charging $25 to $50 a month just for you to be a supporter, and they don't even give you anything in return. So that's basically all I'm saying, is that you're actually getting a lot of good stuff in return for this. And that's pretty much it. So I would love for you to check it out. If you do get a chance to become a Hackaholics Anonymous member, I would love to hear from you in the Discord. If not, it's all good. Just make sure you like, subscribe, and join our overall community, because you will get a lot of value just from this channel. And that's it. I'm done selling. So that's pretty much it. It's your boy Hank Hackerson at Hank Hacks Hackers, your favorite network and system attacker / protector. Love, peace, and chicken grease. If no one else loves you, Hank loves you. I will see you in the next video later.